terrible headphones. All right.
And we're live.
Hi. Welcome to Land Down Under. I am Liv, and I present my book club pick, which is The Gracekeepers by Kirsty Logan. Yeah. Really bad intros, but anyway. So I'll start off with...
have the book?
Oh, no, does anyone have a book?
Audible. I have Audible. Hang on.
Yeah.
I got a hard copy.
Oh,
Yay.
that's the cover from the Audible one. So pretty.
That was what I saw on Felicia Day's review on Goodreads, her talking about the fact that the American cover looks like a tampon commercial and the UK cover is beautiful.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's almost always the case. UK covers are beautiful.
I think there's like a light blue one is that the tampon one that she's referencing? Yeah, it just looks like a weird young adult novel.
It's very generic looking. Yeah.
Is that the one that I used the picture? Is that the one I used the picture of? Right, yeah.
But yeah.
It was kind of just could be any kind of book. Like, it didn't scream in necessarily anything sort of in the fantasy or...
Kind of said women's lit to me.
Yeah, I don't think it even sort of like showcases what's exactly in the book either, because it feels quite unique compared to your normal fare.
Well,
in a little bit way.
Doesn't it? Sorry, I haven't read the book, but doesn't it actually have something that happens in the book with the cages?
Yeah, but it's not like it just doesn't capture the vibe at all.
No,
it doesn't.
Yeah. No. Alrighty. I guess I talk about what I thought about it. Right?
Own this, Liv. Come on. Own it.
I'm really bad at this stuff. But anyway, so technically, well, what I thought about it is in that I finished it in a couple hours. So it's a very hazy memory because I'm like, need to finish it. But essentially what I thought of it is that I quite liked it. It was quite unique in terms of its world building, which was really nice. And I really liked the character of North. So because you got two different types of people, like it's sort of like a post-apocalyptic sort of book. Because now there's not that much people living on land. There's not much land left. So you have the landlockers and then the damplings. And then the two main characters is like North, who's a dampling, and Callanish, who's a gracekeeper / landlocker. But I really liked North. She was really cool. I really liked her interactions with the bear. It was interesting how like things unveiled, like her pregnancy, and although I feel like the world building didn't feel completely complete, because some bits I'm like, I feel like I need a little bit more explanation, or something needs to have a little bit more depth, or these characters need a little bit more depth. But overall, I quite liked it, and I wouldn't mind reading it again, just to probably in a bit more, a less hasty manner, but see if there's anything I missed. But yeah, who wants to go next? How about Kirsten?
Because you laugh.
I said to someone, like, I was like halfway through the book, and someone said, "What are you thinking of it?" And I'm like, I haven't started yet, and I was a bit on the fence. And I said, "Oh, little hinges on the ending," and then I was still kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this book. I really liked the concept, and I thought it was really interesting world building. It wasn't like anything else that I'd read before, but I don't know that I connected completely with the characters as much as I could have. But there was a lot of things I did like about it, but it wasn't. So I'm currently listening to Spinning Silver, and I'm like, I might just go and fold the washing so that I have an excuse to listen to my book for a bit. And I never had that with this book. I didn't have that I can't wait to keep listening thing. But when I was listening, I was kind of enjoying it. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm interested to hear what other people have to say about it, because it might tip me one way or the other to hear other people's opinions too. Because I know sometimes even when I really love a book, people will say, oh, but this was bad and that was bad. And I go, oh yeah, those things were bad, but I kind of had forgotten about them. So I'll be interested to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on the fence, as you guessed my 2-year-old didn't read version of that.
Yeah. I would say I'm sort of in your camp because I was flicking, like in my head, I sometimes have a feeling about what rating it would be, which is not the greatest thing to think, but I was like going, is it a 3? Is it a 4? I don't know. But Elizabeth, your turn.
Sure. Well, I quite like the style of the book. I feel like it kind of had a similar vibe to a lot of like mythic fiction, which I really love. But I found it quite muddy thematically. Like I feel like it wasn't quite as clear as it needed to be on a few things.
Mm.
And I feel the ending in particular kind of, I was just a bit like, it didn't fit the rest of the book for me.
Mm.
No.
It did have kind of a fairy tale-ish kind of quality to it.
It did kind of have and they all lived happily ever after the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He locked his wife in a room.
And they all lived
she's
happily
talking
ever
about
after.
the
end.
but she was the bad one. So
she don't
what happens to the witch in the story. You're talking about like the main character and the two main characters.
The two main characters happily ever after.
Yeah.
I feel like the ending too is where I kind of got like confused about the themes a bit more. Like I feel like it muddied the waters there because it's all like, oh, we've got all these choices now. It's all about choice, and I'm like, was that really what that was all about? Because that wasn't really the vibe I was getting.
Yeah.
No, and I don't really like. I can see bits where Callanish and North seemed that it could work, like in terms of the themes, but then it just confuses things, or I don't really understand the ending that much, if that makes sense. It's just like, I think there needed to be something a little bit extra put in place throughout the story, apart from, anyway. Naomi and Carrie now.
I just want to do this
to
Kirsten and be like,
I don't know that she
might
can see that.
need the brightness a little bit higher. I know that if we have it too bright, she won't be able to see it all. And be like, look at what you could have in your home, though.
Look how cute it is.
I know.
But that aside, I nothinged the book. Like, the story was cute.
No. See, she says she nothinged the book, but I was like scared to get started on the book because all she did was talk about how much she hated it. I was scared to tell her how I felt about the book because all she did was tell me how much she hated it.
You got to like third of the way through and you're like, did I miss something? What's this thing
wasn't
about?
Even a third of the way. It was like an hour in.
Yeah, but you were like really confused about like who Callanish was, why she was there, because they don't explain things. It's just like, I feel like you weren't given a whole story. I feel like you were given like story light. I feel like if I got the whole story, it would have been a better story.
I don't disagree. I feel like it wasn't short enough to be a short story or a children's novel. And there are aspects of it because it's very fairy tale like that are almost like it's a middle grade book. But also it wasn't long enough or detailed enough to be high fantasy, even though it felt like elements of it should be. So like the whole thing with the Gracekeepers, like Nay said, I actually had to go and ask her, did I miss something? Like when Callanish is introduced, I was distracted while I was listening to it because I often listen to audiobooks while I'm in the gym. And so I had just finished working out and I was switching to stretching. And when Callanish was introduced, and I sort of went, hang on a second, what's going on? Because it's not really explained. They say she's a Gracekeeper, but it's not explained very well what a Gracekeeper actually is until later on. And so I was like, who the heck is this chick? Why are we not in the circus? Why do I care about what is happening right now? But that was only at the start of the book. But I do feel like that was the general theme throughout. Like, things just aren't fleshed out enough. Like, we get this glimpse of what happened to North when she was a child, but you don't really understand that that was North until way later in the book.
Really?
I thought that was Callanish that happened to.
No, Callanish
With the
was
bear?
what happened to North. Callanish was the point of view character in that.
No.
film.
Yeah.
In the prequel,
Yeah.
in the
No, the bit at the very beginning with the parents that got eaten by the bear, and that's
They're
North.
talking about how she's got gloves on when she's watching the circus and what happens to North. So it's from Callanish's perspective, but it's about.
Didn't even
what
click that
happened
that's
to
what
North.
was going on.
Yeah,
because
I knew
don't
that
talk
was
about
Callanish.
Callanish's gloves until so far later into the book that by then I had completely forgotten.
Yeah, I knew that bit was Callanish because when she first sees the bear, she's like, I do remember seeing that bear from the circus from long ago and all the screams and stuff. And I was like, oh, she's that chick. So they did kind of like.
See, maybe
go
if I'd
back to
read the
that.
physical book, I would
No,
have.
I audio booked too, but I must have been listening in that bit.
Yeah.
The other bit you were talking about, I was the same. I was like,
What
what's
the
she
heck's
doing
going
with
on?
the birds in the cages? I don't understand why the birds are going to die. What's the point of having the birds? I didn't get that.
The point of the
I was
bird.
like, did I switch off while I was listening to that bit and like zone out? And then, because that happens in audiobooks all the time, I'll be like, because I mostly listen while I'm driving. So if something like on the road is happening that I have to focus more than usual, I just the audiobook kind of goes to the background. And I was listening and I'm like, I can remember actually going back a couple of times, but I must have missed something. And then I was still like, I still don't really understand what the point of the birds is.
So I feel like the entire book could be summed up with there needed to be more world building and just more information provided, because there's a lot of pretty and flowery language in there that makes it very lovely to listen to. But I needed more information. Like I needed more information about Gracekeepers and just, yeah.
You know what I realized my other problem was? I went from listening to Siege of Storms straight into listening to Gracekeepers.
I'm sorry.
And they're very different narrators. Like I just found her very, I don't know. I didn't enjoy her.
I had to listen to her at 1.5.
I didn't enjoy listening to her voice at all compared to listening to the narrator for Siege of Storms.
Which makes you feel
it had a different kind of voice. Yeah, it was the author narrated it. She had, and I think she definitely. The one thing I do think is good when the author narrates is that you kind of get the right
accurate voice to their characters. Yeah,
and the right inflection and the right meaning behind like. Sometimes when a character says something, you're like, how are they saying that? And with what kind of, are they saying it angrily or are they saying it quietly? Or and if it's not spelled out in the text, sometimes the author can kind of put that in and it's almost like you're getting an extra insight that isn't in the actual text, which is interesting. But yeah, she definitely had a different kind of voice than most narrators, I think.
So slow.
Yeah,
I always listen to it on extra fast. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I had her turned up to
1.5 is real fast.
Yeah, I had her turned up to 1.5. That's really fast. I shouldn't be listening to you that fast.
I don't think the only other time I've ever gone that fast is when I've been trying to finish something in time.
But also that fits the pace of the book because I mean it's not like a
it is very dreamy and fairy tale like. So despite the whole. It's not a middle grade novel, but it's also not high fantasy. I did really enjoy it. I really liked the characters and I really liked the world and I thought it was really interesting. There's just these gaps that please fill them in or power it back so it doesn't feel like they need to be filled in. Make it a short story.
I just felt like there was a lot of information that I didn't have. And I feel like if I had it, I would have enjoyed the story a bit more. Like, it was just assumed that we would know what Gracekeepers were. And it was assumed that we would know why people were worshipping the World Tree and, like, why they had this festival. Like, there's a lot of
thing I understood.
Yeah, but there's a lot of assumptions that, like...
I don't think it's just about like filling in the gaps. I think you need to know why it's impactful on the story. Why does it make sense? Why does it connect with the themes? Because a lot of it was going, yes, you're telling me this, and probably need a bit more information, but I need to know why I need to care about it in some aspect. Like
I don't know. I already care about it. I care about it enough that I'm annoyed that the information wasn't there.
Yeah.
I did think the post-global warming seas have risen kind of world was interesting. Although I did kind of
it's like almost dystopian.
Yeah, it is quite dystopian, I thought.
Yeah. I wanted to know more about like the city under the water and everything.
Yes.
Like, that sounds cool.
Yes. That's what I was disappointed about. Was like they hinted at this, and they and she can, she started to be like a fish almost. And I'm like, oh, they're going to be mermaids, and there was.
I thought that's what was going to happen. I thought it was going to end up with North and Callanish going and living in a watery city under the sea. And I was like, I am down for this. And then they just went back to the Grace Yard. I'm like, fuck this shit.
I mean, that would have been really cool. It would have been nice to see them living together under the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was totally down for that. I'm like, she's pregnant with a water baby, and Callanish is a fish.
No, water babies are a different thing.
I was just really excited. And then they took it all away from me. And I think that's why I got so upset with the book. Because I was really amped for living under the ocean in this cool, like, fairy tale water city. And it was like, nah, we're taking that away from you. They're just going back to the graveyard.
Oh my God, she's killing me.
Sorry, Smoosh is being the most adorable puppy ever did with the and killing us. She's killing us, dude.
She just keeps stretching and covering her little face, and it's just, I die.
Yeah, that's my rant. I'm sorry.
No,
Definitely enjoyed it more than you did.
I think it was quite readable, but yeah, there's a lot of things that felt like were missing from it.
I didn't find it a struggle to read. Like, I finished it fairly easily. I just wasn't happy with the experience I had while listening to it.
But like what Kirsten said, when you weren't reading it, did you want to know what was going on?
No.
See, I did, and that's, I think, the difference.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to know what would happen if they lived under the sea in the cool city.
I think
Naomi just didn't get the ending she wanted.
Look, I know what I want out of this story, and it's mermaids and living under the sea with the fish people.
I must admit, I would have been down for that.
Cool as that would have been, I do think that maybe they were aiming for like a halfway point between land and sea.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought that's what she was aiming for with like the people with the fin, like with the like webbed feet and like
Callanish won't even put her toes in the water.
They just shove her in. Sorry, I feel like my rant overtook everyone. I'm so sorry.
No, I led your rant.
It's like anything else.
Sorry.
Was there anything else that people quite liked or they didn't like, or
I liked the bear.
Piece of the story that. What was that? Oh, the bear. Yeah.
I liked the bear. I liked it. He was just he just performed. He did it because he wanted to. He didn't, he wasn't chained. She didn't torture him. There was no like whips or nasty sticks poking him or anything. She just
the other animals.
She she just performed with her bear, and they had this really nice like relationship with one another, and it was really sweet, and I liked that.
They're a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was nice.
Which is why it was sad at the end.
Yeah.
I feel like they were really going for like a parallel there between the bear and Callanish's mother, because they talk about so much that bears have such terrible memories and blah blah blah, but I feel like they needed to lean into it a bit more.
Yeah, because I didn't get it at all. Now that you say it, it makes perfect sense, but I did not pick up on that when I was reading.
I didn't pick up on that either.
Which is, I think, because I was thinking about why kill off the bear and that sort of thing, and then once I started thinking about that, and then thinking about Kalanish's mother, like you can see that those two are like the old families, if you know what I mean, that they leave behind in order to kind of go on with a new life, sort of thing, and they're halfway between both worlds, but it just didn't really quite hang together.
I think that's just the book is like she just didn't want to invest in anything much. Like there's that great theme there of the land people versus the sea people. I'm sorry, I've just finished this book and I still can't remember what things are called.
Damplings and landlockers.
Them. And she doesn't really explore that as in depth as she could have. She kind of hinted at this LGBT romance between the two main characters, but also not. There's just a lot of things there that she really could have invested time in, but didn't.
And Kalanish went home to help her mother, and everyone was all like, you just left her. Why didn't you help her? I'm like, she fucking slit her throat, lady. You've been crazy.
Yeah. And then they were all horrible to her. And then
they were all horrible to her. Like she was the one who left, of her own accord. I'm like, no, she left because she had to. She ran away for her own safety. And I'm like, it just made me real mad.
See, the bear thing bothered me because I felt like it was an easy way of getting out of that whole issue that they kept talking about the whole time. Every time she thought about having this baby, she was like, how am I going to look after the bear and the baby and not have the bear eat the baby and not be jealous of the baby and hurt it from jealousy and this whole big, and then it was like, oh, conveniently the bear just died, so I didn't have to worry about all of those issues. And I was like, it just felt like too convenient way to wrap up the story. But I don't know, maybe I'm just being cynical.
No, it did feel a bit convenient the way that it was like she was going on a bit like, well, how will I ever have enough food for the bear and the baby? And how will I ever be able to do this?
For you and the bear.
For the bear and the baby. Like everything was like the bear and the baby. And it's like, oh, we just took away the bear, so now you just need to take care of the baby.
And it kind of felt like, oh, well, that's what you do. Like it was almost like, well, not that it was her fault that the bear died, but it was kind of well, now it's how oh, that's good. You don't have to worry about that bear that you loved before now because now you've got a baby to look after. And it kind of felt like it doesn't matter about the bear now because now you've got your baby.
And especially too because they didn't have any moments of grief for the bear.
No, I think maybe that's the problem I had. I was like, it was more like, oh, that solves the problem. Now I don't have to worry about that bear anymore. Instead of being like, you would think she would be a lot more
devastated.
Upset. Yeah,
their family.
Yeah. So maybe that was what bothered me about it. But yeah, I was just
didn't seem that sad that her bear had been killed. Like she seemed more sad about the acrobat being killed than she was about her bear.
I mean, to be fair, a lot happened in a very short space of time.
That's true.
And this book didn't flesh stuff out.
That's also true.
Yeah, I guess they kind of skipped a bit from like the conclusion of the story to the epilogue.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is fine, but you needed the grief for the emotional arc of the story.
Yes.
Especially in a book that is like about grief a lot. Like that's what Gracekeepers are for, like.
What did we all think about what's her name boning her husband's son?
Did anyone see that coming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Kim. Hey. Yeah, I did when I can't even remember where. I definitely picked it up before they spelt it out, but I think there was a lot of hints dropped earlier.
Although I did briefly wonder whether he might be gay, but didn't go that direction.
Yeah, some people seemed very like, are they gay? Are they straight? And then you're like, oh, okay, no, that's fine. So, whatever.
Bye?
Yeah. I sort of felt...
They never put bi people in these books, Mel. You know they hate us.
I know. That's why I got so excited about Schitt's Creek. They had a pansexual lead. Sorry. Totally off topic.
Oh, I know.
That's not like
something
us.
really.
What did you think of the novel, Kim?
I was a bit bored. It was easy to read, I have to say. It only took me like 3 times to sit down and read it. But I don't know. It didn't flesh things out, as you were saying. It didn't flesh things out very well.
That's been the
I felt
general
like
consensus.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't really enjoy any of the characters that much, and I think it's because it really didn't flesh them out very well. Didn't really relate to anyone in particular or anything like that, and I think they just lacked depth in general.
But also, like, most of them weren't particularly likable anyway.
No, but I can read a book and not like the characters, but I just didn't like the characters at all. I didn't really relate to anything with them either, and they just seemed very shallow, I think.
I feel like you either need to have a really beautiful fleshed out story that's going to hold your attention, or really like bold, like in-depth characters that someone's going to be drawn to. And this book really had neither. Like it had characters that were interesting-ish, and it had an okay story-ish, but it didn't have either factor that was like the draw-in point. Like there were too many little things that she was trying to do with the overarching story that I felt like she didn't really have a this is what my story is about kind of thing.
It's probably worth noting that it was a debut novel, so I feel like
And I don't mean to be like trashing on her or anything. Like it wasn't bad. Like, but also just it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it was just meh. It was okay. I read it. I didn't get rid of it, so I finished it.
Yeah.
So the main reason I picked this book was because a lot of the people in the booktube community that I follow really enjoyed it. And now having read it, I've been thinking about why they really enjoyed it. And I think that comes down to sort of differences because their sort of focuses on the literary, on the words, smithing of the story, as opposed to sort of the conception of the of themes or like fleshed out characters. They're more focused on the wordplay as opposed to the characters, and I think that's why.
Mood.
Why is there a disconnect between what I liked and what they'd like?
It was very pretty language, wasn't it? It was very like I do remember even in the audiobook, which usually I don't notice the language as much in the audiobook, which is interesting. Little side note, I guess. But I did notice and go, oh, it's just a pretty sentence. Like, you know, I can't think of an example because I had the audiobook and I didn't have anything to highlight, but
it's very much a literary tradition.
I think it sort of veers into literary fiction, so if that makes sense. Like less than fantasy, but more trying to be a literary novel.
I was kind of reminded actually of The Night Circus for obvious reasons, but not only because it's a circus though, but because it is that kind of same like mythic fiction sort of literary tradition sort of thing. But obviously The Night Circus pulls it off a lot better. But I feel like they're kind of in the same ballpark at least.
Yeah, I think maybe that was what it was trying to go for.
Yeah,
very much like a mood.
Actually, a lot of people in their reviews said that they they compared it to The Night Circus or what's that other book? Sort of like a dystopian that's about like a Shakespeare company.
Oh, Station 11?
Yeah, that one.
I think the problem is because we've all read, except for obviously Karina, we've read The Night Circus and we all really love it. Drawing so many parallels to that book that because this is our first book that our authors released, you know, us drawing all those parallels to a book that is just a lot stronger makes it feel a lot weaker as well. Like,
it does.
Maybe if I wasn't drawing so many parallels to a book that I love so much, maybe I would have enjoyed it more.
That's a really good point. Thank you.
Yeah, it definitely does no favours to kind of compare it to The Night Circus. But I think lots of people will have that association in mind.
It compares a lot more favourably than that other one we read that was trying to be The Night Circus. What was that one? What was that one again? Naomi?
Must have been for me, I think.
Carnival.
Was one of your choices?
It's Carnival.
Yeah, Carnival.
Oh,
Carnival.
Yeah.
Caraval, sorry.
Carnival.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was not a good book either. It was bad, and it should feel bad.
Well, that's what I mean. When we put this one next to that, it's actually very good.
I think I had that on my list to tackle. I might take it off now.
It's
It wasn't good.
it's bad in a different way. Like, it's not bad in the way that you don't get sort of the story fleshed out. Like, you get a full story, and there's 2 more books in this series for Caravel, so obviously someone liked it. But it was
very.
not great.
I don't think we were
kind of. Yeah.
we weren't the audience for that book.
Sure.
No,
It was very YA.
really, that book is very much stylized for girls between 11 and 14.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, it's a very young YA, whereas Night Circus is, while it is a bit YA, it's more of a 16 to 18 YA. Like, it's, which is why YA really needs to be separated into young and.
But you can separate it out forever, and I have this argument with well, not maybe
Take that age called middle schoolers.
Parents as well, is that everyone's an individual and you can't really age group things. Like, I had a parent come in asking if they can, like, their child can borrow a particular book that's usually only by the senior fiction. It's usually only like the upper school that borrow it, and I'm like, you're the parent. If you are happy for them to read it, I don't mind them borrowing it. The only reason I ever say no is because I'm worried some parent's going to come scream at me. So if the parent's happy for them to borrow it,
Yeah.
they can borrow whatever they like. If I had my way and I knew that no parent was going to come and scream at me, I would let all the kids borrow whatever the hell they wanted.
Yeah.
But I know that if I do that, that someone's going to come and scream at me. So I have to be careful. So, yeah, when a parent says, I think my child is capable of reading this and would enjoy it, and I'm like, great, good, they can borrow it then.
Go for your life.
Our copies of York Diaries are marked. They have a little sticker on the front that says YA on them, because they are reserved for the 5-6ers only. Like, if you try and loan them out to younger kids, you have to approve it before it will go through. But they have a YA sticker on it, and every time I see it, I'm like,
have they read
That does not mean what you think it means.
no.
God, they're like tame compared to, like, man, I thought my library
not
was
for the
fairly
grade 3s, but like, they're not YA.
I don't know why year 3 couldn't read it. I know a lot of year 3s from my school read those York Diaries.
My year 3s are really immature.
Yeah.
Really immature.
But I see it depends on the child though too, and it depends on.
It does. But like, also the last couple of Harry Potter books come up with the same thing when you try and loan them out to younger kids as well. But that's really different because like, people die in those.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones that I'm talking about was a year 2 child wanting to borrow the Wings of Fire series. So which is, you know, it's upper primary. But I was just like, you know, I don't think as long as your mum and dad are fine with it, I don't mind. Like, they're the ones that have to deal if the kid gets scared and has a nightmare about the book. They have already approved it, and they can't come and blame me for that. So, but I'm just like happy if kids are reading. Like, I think a lot of the time other teachers kind of feel like the librarian's job is to be deciding what the kids should read, and I'm kind of like, here's books, and if you like them, you should read them. And if you don't know what to read, I can recommend things for you, but I'm not going to be, I don't feel like my job is to say, you shouldn't be reading that. Because
nope. I literally sit there with my phone and go, what was the last thing you read? Let's find something similar.
Getting a bit off topic.
Sorry, we always go off topic.
Sorry, it's our job.
Oh, good.
It's still talking about books at least, which is not as off topic as we sometimes go.
It's sort of led to here, sort of. But
well, are there any other discussion points?
Does anyone else think Jaro was a stupid idiot?
Oh,
Yes.
I think
A sweet guy, but
universally.
God, awful idiot.
Universally.
I don't even think he was an idiot. I think he was fully aware of the fact that that baby wasn't his, and I don't think he cared.
Oh, it was this. He wasn't. Like, he was the same with North. And she's like, no, it's not your grandson. He's like, it's my grandson. Let's just
Yes.
not say it is, so it will be. Because he was just like, I get that. It doesn't matter whether it really is. It just matters whether everyone believes it is. And it was the same with her. It was like, I just need to believe that this is my baby, and I'll just pretend that it is.
But could you not see it coming that she just absolutely wrecked absolutely everything?
Oh, yeah, we saw that coming. I think that
Alright.
was deliberately foreshadowed. I actually thought she would do worse than what she did.
So did I.
I was waiting for her to do something a lot worse than what she did. And that was the other thing that annoyed me at the end. I was like, could you not somehow cut those chains? Like, you had heaps of time when you could see that fire was coming along the chain. Like, you know how she'd put like the fat on the chain so that it was fire. And she went to unclip it and burned her hand. I'm like, get a fucking cloth or something and unclip the chain. You've got heaps of time. Or get an axe and chop it out from where it's connected. Like, surely there's a way to undo the chain. Wouldn't that be easier than trying to put the bear and drag the bear out of the thing? Like, it must have taken them ages to drag that bear out. Surely they would have had time to cut that chain. Oh, that really annoyed the crap out of me, because I'm like, there's got to be something you can do to get.
I'm like, I was more like, maybe not cut the chain, because those chains would have been really big. But I'm like, I'm sure there must have been a reasonably easy way to unlink them.
That's what I mean. Like, she went to unlink it and burned her hand. So, like, wrap your hands in something and wet it, and, like, surely there was something you could do to get it unclipped, or to, I don't know, like, move it closer to, so, like, my thought was kind of like, well, could you move it closer to something so that the chain could then go in the water? So then, even if part of the chain was in the water, then it probably wouldn't have come along, the fire wouldn't have been able to come along. I don't know. I just felt like dragging a gigantic bear out of the thing seemed like the hardest way to go about it. But, yeah. I was expecting her to, like, full on try to murder her or try to kill her baby, or
yeah, well, I was surprised she didn't poison
yeah.
them, actually.
Yeah. Yep. I was actually expecting worse from her. Right. But it was interesting that he was more like, it was all about getting his family name back onto the land than anything else. So, I didn't really understand why it had to be his son, or whether that was part of his guilt about him having to do something for North because it was his fault his parents died, or...
I mean, but I was like, she clearly didn't want to go on the land, though. Like,
yeah. And I'm
thinking, well, maybe for the next kid that Avalon's having, even though it's technically not his, but anyway.
Well, it's still his
family.
It's
still his family name. Technically, it's his grandchild. Yeah, that's kind of less weird than North and her fish baby.
What did you guys actually think of Callanish? Because honestly, like, I connected a bit more with North, but Callanish, I was like, I'm not really sure what to think about you.
I quite enjoyed her character, actually. I thought she was interesting. I thought the thing with her mum was interesting.
And I liked her interactions with Fletch.
Yeah.
I was a little bit disappointed when she just ditched him.
Yeah.
And that was it, and we didn't hear from him again. And I was like, oh, I quite liked him. Can he come back?
Well, actually, he was a bit of a dick.
He was. Like, he's
I didn't like him, but I liked his character.
I'm just gonna do this stuff because she's gonna have to fuck me again if I do these things. She's gonna have an excuse.
And then she was like, no, and then he's like, don't leave me, you don't have to do anything, I'll be so lonely. You're like,
Yeah, The moment she was like, "Nah, I'm goodbye," he was like, "But please don't leave me, please. I love you. Please don't go. I'm so lonely."
I just dropped nail polish remover everywhere, everything.
No.
Oh,
And all over my nails that I finally got to dry.
Oh.
Oh dear.
And the house is going to smell like nail polish remover.
I
Don't
kind
eat
of find
into all my furniture.
Flitch pretty creepy, actually.
He
I did
was totally
too.
creepy.
Yeah, I found him creepy too.
Yeah.
That's
No,
what I
I
mean. He was very like, I'm gonna get some. I'm doing all this because I'm gonna get some, and
Mhm.
I didn't get the impression that he was gonna take no for an answer if she had any
Yeah.
other option.
But then he totally just, you know, turned
Fell
into a giant
apart.
crybaby when he realised that she wasn't interested and he wasn't going to give him what he wanted. We're like,
Especially actually when you got in his head when they actually did point
Mm.
of view from him, I was kind of like, oh, I really don't.
Yeah, he was a bit of a creep.
yeah.
Because if you were just getting her perspective, you could always kind of tell yourself, well, she's just seeing him that way and he's actually not as bad as she thinks he is. But then you got inside his head and I was just like, no, I don't like him at all.
Yeah, the main thing that sort of stuck out from that was when he's like, I'm going to put my hand up her skirt or something. He was like, ugh.
When he's like, I didn't even look up her skirt.
He
I
kept
didn't even-
patting himself on the back for the fact that he hadn't raped her. That was
Yeah.
the thing that was pissing me off.
Mm.
He was like, well, I didn't rape her and I could have. That doesn't make you a good person.
Yeah. That was what was really pissing me off. I'm like, just because you didn't do something that you shouldn't do anyway doesn't make you a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, like he was like patting himself on the back about it. And I'm like, oh, God.
Well observed character in that sense, I guess.
I think that's what made me enjoy him more, though. Like, you've got North, who's barely just letting things happen to her. Callanish, who just has all of this guilt and is just sort of letting things happen to her until she doesn't get this message to her mother. And everyone else who, apart from Avalon, who just sort of go with the flow a lot of the time.
Yeah. The other thing that I think actually one of the problems with this book is there seemed to be a lot of kind of foreshadowing of stuff that then never happened. And one of the things was the clowns. Like I was expecting there to be more.
Yeah, I expected
with
something
them.
to happen with the
For them to
clowns.
do something really big, and now it was basically just that they did that show and then they all got arrested and stuff. But they didn't really.
Seemed a bit anticlimactic, it's true.
Yeah.
I guess
Because I
there
kept
wasn't like
waiting for them to do something horrible, and then they did.
I mean, there was a great sense of anticipation, but when it eventuated, it didn't really feel properly dangerous.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I wasn't really worried about any of that. I wasn't really worried about what Avalon was going to do.
Yeah, that's what I was focusing a bit more, actually. I was like, oh, I don't mind you. And then I went, no, just go away. Find your own house. Leave everyone.
Oh, and the guy was so bloody delusional too. Like when you got to the end and he's like, we'll just all live in the house, all of us together.
Yep.
At least North was realistic enough to be like, it'll be interesting how that pans out, but I won't be there to see it.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, did you notice her baby at the end was called Ursa? Do you know what that actually means?
Yeah, Ursa is
Yeah.
bear, like the
I was like, oh,
constellation bear. Yeah, I did like that.
I felt like that was like another like coming together of sea and land, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's such a cute name. So,
Yeah.
It also reminded me of Ursula the Sea Witch.
Yeah, that's true. Although it does remind. Who was it that was talking right at the beginning when we first started reading this about? She hasn't even named the bear.
I know that was the problem I had. I was just like, this sucks. The bear doesn't have a name.
It should have a name.
Yeah, it was called Bear.
You should talk to Matt. He grew up with a cat that was called Kitten. because they got it when it was a kitten, so they named it Kitten, and it was just Kitten forever.
My bear is called Bear. He's called He's Special Bear.
Aww.
Aw.
So he
Oh,
is
my-
also just technically Bear.
Yeah, no, that's how my kids name all their toys. Like, they either just name it what it is, or they put, like, E on the end of it.
Aw.
Like, except Claire's cow, she has a toy cow, and it's called Cowley.
Cute.
Cowley, the cow.
Yeah.
I just remember for example, when I lived in Alice Springs, our neighbor had this dog that turned out to be like a big Great Dane, but they never could figure out what to call it, so they just called it Puppy. And it was this huge big Great Dane that was called Puppy, and I went, oh my god, that's so dear. That's definitely not a puppy
That's kind
now.
of cute. I think
Yeah.
that's really cute,
I was
actually.
expecting to see something about Bear being called Bear, but that was never addressed. It was just Bear.
Hmm.
It did seem weird that no one ever because the horses had names, didn't they? It was
Yeah.
Lady and yeah, but no one ever sort of said anything about the bear not having a name.
And she never ever she didn't really call it Bear. She called it My Bear. Like, it's my bear. Like, she didn't sort of call it just Bear.
No, it was either my bear or the bear.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
that was a carryover from her being a child when she first met the bear and her having that impression of the bear being her bear, whereas everyone else just viewed the bear as a beast, so they didn't feel the need to name it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good point.
And when there's only one, you don't need to really distinguish it from other bears if it's
No.
the only bear.
It's the bear.
Yeah.
It's the bear.
This is North's bear.
Yep, there's two
What did
horses,
she
so you have to
call it when
distinguish
she
them.
was talking to it? Like, surely she talked to it, even when she was training it and stuff.
On the other hand, though, how often do you use other people's names when you're talking to them?
That's a very good point, because I actually find it weird when I'll talk about Matt, but if I say, hey, Matt, it's like,
It feels
it
weird.
sounds really weird, because I usually just call him Babe. And so if I actually call him by his name, it's like, it sounds really strange. And he looks at me funny sometimes, too. Like, just call me by my name.
Am I in trouble? It's like my parents never call me by my name unless I am in trouble.
Yeah.
So, like I'm
Yes.
Silly Widley or something.
When my kids are in trouble, I usually can't remember which name I'm supposed to say. Xander, which one are you?
Yep. Oh, don't worry. That's
I
every
only have
parent, I
two
think.
of them.
Or you say the one that if one gets in trouble more, no matter which one
Yeah.
gets in trouble, you'll say the one's name that gets in trouble more.
I actually did it to one of the kids at school the other day. I was like, Xander! I mean, what? Because he was doing something annoying, and I was like, yep, I just called you by my son's name. Whoopsie.
I guess it goes the other way. Sometimes kids call you mum.
All the time, and then when they realise they've done it, they go
They
bright
get
red.
so embarrassed.
Oh,
so funny.
Except
I'll
for
tell you what
Alex,
happened
who
the other-
turns around and goes, I won't have heard him say it. And it doesn't, it happens so often that I don't care. But then he calls himself out on it. He'll be like, mum, blah, blah, blah. And then I go, I just called you mum. And I'm like, I didn't even notice, dude. Now you've just announced it to everybody. Good job.
Actually, at work the other day, we had these two little kids, and they were just running around the office, and we got them to draw some things, and they kept on coming around the side and giving me drawings and showing me like, oh, this is cute, it's pink. Would you like my warm jelly bean? You go and eat it. I'm like, oh, okay. But the little boy, he was probably 2 or 3, and he came around and he showed me his drawing, and then he looked at my belly and he touched it when he went, Mummy, and I went, oh no, I'm just fat. Like I was about to say, I'm just fat, but no. I was like, oh.
Oh yeah, I've had that many times.
Yeah, and I couldn't laugh about it because the parents were there, and I was like, oh, I'll just wait like an hour after they come back, and I told everyone in the office, and everyone was like, lol. But anyway.
Matt got home from work the other day, and Claire gave him a big cuddle and came up, and she's like, I love you, Grandma. And he's like, I'm not Grandma, I'm Daddy. But Grandma's there all day, so she's just like, used to say Grandma. But yes,
Aw.
I don't think Matt really appreciated being called Grandma.
Well, he doesn't really look like Grandma.
No.
Like,
Not he could get it if it was me, because she's my mum. So
But
there's
you
a photo
don't
of her
really
when
look
I.
like your mum, though.
Yeah, I'll have to find.
Oh no, Kirsten's put up a photo of her mum when she was Kirsten's age, and yeah, they definitely look good.
I know
When she was
it's
Kirsten's age, she would have, but like now, like
Yeah,
looking
no,
at you,
not
Not
now.
not right now.
No, but yeah, no. There's a photo of her with me as a baby on her lap, and like if it wasn't for the orange paisley couch, I think it was me. Yeah,
You wouldn't own an orange paisley couch now?
but yeah.
Oh, have you put it on Facebook, and has it tried to tag her as you?
I can't remember whether it did that or not.
Yeah,
But I
know
posted
Sarah's
it on
done that.
Facebook.
Sarah's done that and has tried to tag her as a mum.
Oh, that's never fun. Yeah, no, I posted it one Mother's Day. It was a picture of me and Claire next to a picture of Mum and me, and it was like, pick which one is which.
I tried that face app thing for the first time today to see
Which
what I
one?
would look like. Oh, the face app.
Oh, the face.
The one that hacks all your details. That one.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like everything, like my phone knows everything about me, so it's okay. Anyway.
No, it's something to do with it gives, like, in the terms and conditions, it gives them permission to use all your photos for whenever, and it's like, well, you have to kind of be aware
like
that.
Instagram does or whatever.
Yeah, you kind of like
It's
really
like, oh,
lose.
whatever.
This doesn't matter. Like if you say yes or no, it'll just take all your photos anyway.
Great.
Yeah, no, but I saw a few news articles that were talking about particular and about how now you've lost all the rights to your photos, and it's like, really, do you have any rights to anything you post online after you've posted it? Technically you do, but that doesn't mean people will listen to it.
No.
I know there's a Christian like music group that have a CD that they've printed out with one of my paintings as their CD cover, without ever asking permission to use it or even me knowing
They're
about it.
terrible Christians. Worst
The only
Christians
reason
in the
I know
world.
about it is because I did a reverse. You know how you can do the Google image
Oh,
search
yes.
where you put up an image and it looks for other images, and I was like, why the hell is my painting on the cover of the Christian music group's CD?
Did you contact them?
No, because they look like they've maybe had like 5 copies of the CD, and I was just like,
They probably spent more money than they made.
like the website looked like it had been made with like GeoCities or something. Like I was like, this is not worth fighting.
Not worth it.
She's so cute. I want to take her and cuddle her forever.
She won't let you.
I know.
You just have to admire from a distance.
But I want her.
Like,
He's doing it deliberately to tempt you in.
Look at her.
She is a
Impossible
cutie.
to resist.
She's like, look at my belly, touch it, and I will bite you.
no, she won't.
Oh, she likes belly rubs too.
She does.
Yeah. So do both of mine.
That reminds me,
She
on
doesn't want
Thursday,
She does not want that.
I had the day off yesterday, and my dog was very happy because that meant she got to stay inside all day. But she was on the lounge, and she's all curled up, and she's putting her paws over her face, and she's doing like that. And I was like, no, stop doing that because I'm going to cry. You're so cute. But yeah, you love them.
So, guys, are we finished? Shall I stop the recording?
I think so.
Does
I don't think I have any more
anyone have
points.
anything else they want to say?
I'm just having a quick look through a reading guide thing.
Yeah, I had a look at one earlier, but it's all that flowery bullshit questions that we don't like reading.
Yeah, I think it's probably the same one I'm looking at.
What did
And
you
it
think
feels
about
like
the clowns and their
Didn't we talk about the clowns?
and their military performance?
That was interesting.
It was funny that was where the line was drawn. Like they could do all these things, but this is our line in the sand. You can go here and no further.
Yeah, I got the impression that they kind of the line depended on who the audience was, you know, like.
Yes.
Well,
And
that's where
they
were
missed
going with it. That Avalon had dobbed
the
them in. That was what I assumed had been her big scheme, that Avalon dobbed them in for doing this performance.
Yeah.
That's what I got too. So that they would all be arrested and she could set everything on fire.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like, well, they didn't mention anything about that.
They didn't explicitly say that that's what she'd done.
No.
I think it was implied, though.
Yeah, I think it was implied pretty strongly that it was her.
Was it?
And that, like, they knew. They were in the audience the whole time. The audience all knew. Like, the audience usually would have brought all that. Like, they talked about how, like, they probably would have had all the stuff in their pockets to chuck at them, and they just didn't do it, like, because they knew that the military were, like, sitting right next to them and stuff. And yeah, I thought that was interesting. I kind of saw that I thought more was coming from the clowns. I thought they were going to do more than what they ended up doing. Like, they just basically did a show that they have done before, and it was just in the wrong place and time. They didn't really do anything. I just kind of got this vibe from them that they were like these big, like, rebels going to do some big thing to make a statement, and it didn't feel like they really did that.
No.
Again, more characters that needed more fleshing out. That would have been quite interesting with a bit more fleshing out, I think.
Yes. Kim, I don't know if you were here when I had my rant about wanting the story to be about North and Callanish living under the ocean in their sea town.
No, I wasn't.
Because there was like all this like lead up to like Callanish having webbed fingers and like something that appeared to be gills, and then North had her water baby, and there was like the mermaids and whatever it was, and I was like, and they were talking about the cities under the ocean, and I was like, yes, they're gonna go and live under the city under the ocean with their water baby, and then it all ended up being for nothing. It made me very sad. That's all.
I have to say, Naomi, I do feel like it was an epic rant worthy of me.
It's like everything seemed to be anticlimactic. It's like you kept thinking they were building up to something, and then it just wasn't the payoff just wasn't as what you thought it would be.
Like every time you thought the story was going somewhere, it would just sort of be like, and nothing happened.
I would say the one exception to that would be when Callanish jumps off the sea into the ocean finally.
That was good.
Yeah.
I feel like that worked all right.
Yeah, I liked that. Yeah. I'll say I was actually looking through that list of questions, and even though the questions themselves didn't really make me want to ask them to you guys, there was something that I kind of clicked for me about something that I didn't get from this that I've gotten in a lot of other books that have that ensemble cast where you've got this kind of, and it kind of makes me think of things like the Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, where you have this group of people in a small space and those interactions. And what I loved about that book that this didn't have is they didn't have the interactions between the other characters.
No,
so
that's why
it was basically North and how things related to her. You didn't see how this character related to character. All the others were kind of secondary and not really fleshed out, and not really like the clowns and the glamour people, and even what's his face that she was supposed to marry. You didn't really get much about his interactions with the other members of the circus. I think it would have been stronger if we'd seen more of those characters in different situations with the other characters. I think that would have fleshed them out a little bit more, and I think I probably would have enjoyed it a bit more if they were more of a sort of tighter knit group. It felt like even though they were all living in the same space, I suppose maybe that was on purpose because they had the coracles. Even though they were all in the circus together, they all had their own little coracle pods that they stayed in their own little spaces, and they didn't really interact that much. And I didn't enjoy that as much as I would have if they had been interacting more.
Yeah, I do kind of think that was the point. Like, even though this is kind of a family, it's really not at the same time. Like, it's a really poor substitute for family, which again kind of ties into the theme of the books. But it kind of as you say, it kind of undermines it at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that was on purpose, but it's not the kind of thing I enjoy to read. But I really enjoy reading books that have that family that's not a family, you know, like your Firefly kind of. These are a group of people that got thrown together, but now they've become family. I love that idea, and I love reading books that have that. And I felt like this could have been that, but it wasn't.
It was lacking a lot of heart. Like even between North and Cavendish, like it wasn't really. There was no kind of real feeling of genuine affection.
Yeah.
Anything. It was just everyone is their own island sort of thing. And I mean, like, I feel like the epilogue is kind of trying to go for that, bringing them together sort of thing, but it falls flat.
Yeah. Yeah, I think now that you say that out loud, it does make sense that the whole world, you know, like they were all on these little islands and everyone was kind of separate. And
it just
so
doesn't
maybe
make
some that was on purpose, but yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I think they keep. Oh, sorry.
What are you two whispering about?
Looking at the thing that Mel retweeted earlier about the nutbush.
No, I don't tweet.
Oh, is that the
I can
video?
see Mel giggling.
Sorry,
I saw the video.
It's a video of the most Australian nutbush I've ever seen before.
Yeah,
And then everyone, I was reading that at lunchtime, and everyone's like, they didn't clap. I'm offended. They didn't do the clap when they turned.
No. The fascinating thing to me was that it turns out it's not the most Australian. Literally, we're the only ones who do it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody else
I
knew.
didn't know that.
We're the only ones who dance, or
dancing in school.
Do the nut bush. We're the only ones who do the nut bush.
That's weird.
I was upset that they didn't do the travelling version on the second go round, but you know.
Yeah,
that's it. But the nutbush is not an Australian song, so how did it become an Australian-only thing that's doing the dance? How did that happen?
Clearly, somewhere in some point of time in Australia, the dance was developed. It got spread around. I'm guessing we have to blame primary schools in the 80s.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I remember doing it at the skating rink when I was in primary school and high school, and like the local skating rink, like roller skating rink.
Oh wait.
And you'd be doing it with roller skating.
Are we done with the book? Are we done with the book?
Yeah, I think we've returned to it enough times, many times as we can.
Do you want to
I tried really hard. I tried to talk about the book a lot. And now I'm talking about the nutbush.
Liv, did you want to say anything to finish off?
Are you off topic?
Yes, sir.
You're still on in.
We're turning off now, Matt. Oh, you can't hear us.
We know.
I liked it, and it had its problems, but it was alright. I liked it in the end. Alright, let's finish it.
Now, anybody who
All right, we won't bore you anymore with nutbush talk.
Thanks for listening to us.